according to the U.S. Census, more than 50% of American households are blended families. So how do you go from chaos to calm in your home? The founder of the Second Wives Club, Angela Vassallo, is joining us here with her expert advice.
Going from chaos to calm, still to come on San Diego Living this morning. Up next, more than 50% of American households are now blended families. So how do you make it work and make everyone happy? The founder of the Second Wives Club is joining us with her expert advice.
You know, we've talked on this program about blended families before, but I don't think I realized that the numbers were quite as high as they are. The Census Bureau says 50% of families are blended families. Now, that really creates some challenges for a lot of folks. Well, Angela Vassallo joins us here this morning. She wrote the book on it. It's the Second Wives Guide. What made you decide to tackle that?
Well, I decided to write the book because I've been part of my blended family for over a decade now. And in that time, what I realised is that the family dynamic is really changing. So blended families are just one family dynamic that's out there. There's so many these days. The world is definitely changing. And a lot of my friends were meeting men that had been married before. So they would come to me for advice. And I thought there has to be something out there that can guide these women through and help them maybe dodge a bullet or two. I had been through it, I'd taken the bullets, and I really felt like I had a happy, harmonious blended family. So I really wanted to help keep a lot of these blended families together, because statistically, it's not great for a second marriage lasting because of all the outside influences that come into play.
Well, let's identify the accent for everybody here. You're on tour right now from Australia.
Yes, I am.
Any basic differences between relationships in Australia and relationships in America?
Well, it's very big over here. It's a growing trend with the blended family, but Australia is very much following closely as well. So I think it's pretty much on par now, around the same.
So what's the biggest pitfall? What's the first mistake? And when I say a woman, I know you wrote the book primarily for women, but,
yeah.
But it works for men on the flip side.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes the men are a bit forgotten in the middle of this, because they've got the one where they've already created their first family, and that for whatever reason that family dynamic breaks down. And then they're having a second family. And they're sort of stuck between the middle because they've got their children that are in one family, and they've got maybe new children in the second family. So it's hard for the men as well, not just the women.
When you try to approach the blended family and try to ease into it from the beginning, where do you start? I mean, do you jump in with both feet, or do you start gently?
Yeah, definitely start gently. And really, if you're going to go in, I always say, you know, don't go in with rose-coloured glasses. Don't be naive about it. I certainly was naive when I first started in my blended family, and I think you really do need to commit to it and understand what you're going to get yourself into. And are you prepared to do this, take on this role? You have to be a bit of a warrior woman to become a stepmom and the second wife, because, you know, you also have to have high self-esteem. You have to work on that.
You're going to take some hits.
You're going to take some hits, and it's not always going to be about you, and sometimes your feelings might get pushed down to the bottom, but that's not necessarily, you know, meant to be that way. It just happens, and you just, you know, have to accept that.
How do you approach the children of the new spouse?
Very gently. And I just think I will always come in as a friend. You know, you're there as a support to your husband. You're not there to play the mother role. You just take it gently in the beginning. And I write a lot about, you know, understanding where the stepchildren have already been through, what they've been through, where they've come from. And before you get to call them your stepchild, they've been through a lot. So you just have to have empathy and understanding for where they're at as well. And yeah, to be able to create that family dynamic takes time. It actually takes years.
You know, it would be very easy if you found one child that was more accepting of you, to gravitate towards that child and to spend more time with that child. That sounds like you're walking into a minefield, though, if you do that.
Yeah, that's the favoritism thing. And I think you've got to avoid that. And most of the time it is generally one that you do get along with better than the other. But look, I always say you don't have to be anybody but yourself. Just understand, sometimes I've realised after having my own child, my own biological child, is that all children can be annoying. It's not just stepchildren, it's not just little Jimmy down the road. It can be all children. But, you know, just a bit of empathy and understanding goes a long way.
It would be really easy to say, well, yeah, my children are great. Yours are the ones that are annoying.
No, you can't be sucked into that, because that's not always the case.
What's the best way to create that safe environment, though? I always think that home should be a place where kids, especially, are safe and they're secure.
Yes.
How do you create that, though?
You really just need to work on creating harmony in the home, because I think if I always put myself in their position, how would I feel if I was walking into my parents' home and they had a new partner and I didn't feel comfortable, or they made me feel like a bit of an outsider? I wouldn't like that. So I wouldn't let that happen to the children as well. And at the end of the day, you're the adult, they're the child. You know, just have empathy for that and be kind. You know, this great movie that's just come out, Cinderella, there's a great quote in there where she talks about, you know, have courage and be kind. And I think that's really important.
All right, Angela Vassallo, great to see you. It's the Second Wives Guide.
Thank you.
Told from the perspective of somebody that's fought the battle.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for coming in. Okay.